Okay, it's being live streamed. Can I continue?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, Antonia, please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning. Estin, please confirm if you can hear me. James, Chu, Kolawole, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, I'm so sorry, just to draw your attention. All right, I'm super excited to be here today. Today we'll be talking about building web applications with Django. So my name is Udokike Daniel. Okay, I'm Udokike Daniel. I'm a member of Python team, and I'm a Python developer by profession anyways. So today we'll be talking about overview of Django, what Django is all about, purpose of Django, a Python web framework for building a scalable and secured web application. We'll also be talking about what Django is all about, then Django key features, all those features that make Django what it is. We'll be talking about how to set up Django project, then the structure of a Django project, creating a Django application, then Django URL routing. All those guys that use the front-end framework, what's it called, React, all those React routing and so. So we'll be learning about Django URL routing. Then we'll be talking about views in Django. We're talking about the templates, after which we're moving down to models in Django, how to deploy Django application. Then we'll be concluding it and answer some questions and take the questions you might have to ask. All right, the overview to start with, Django is basically a Python web framework that is used to build a scalable and maintainable application. Web development involves creating and maintaining websites using various technologies. So in any aspect of web that you want to build, there must be an involvement of a technology, which might be technology dependent or technology independent. So framework like framework like Django provides a standardized way of building web application. So Django is scalable and its application is efficient and is a way to build and deploy web application efficiently. So like I said, Django is a web framework, is a Python web framework anyway. So if you know Python, you are here to know Django. So what then is Django? We'll be talking about that, what Django is all about. So let's take a look at what Django is all about. It is a high-level Python web framework that encourages rapid development and clean, pragmatic design. So one thing about Django is that it gives you that opportunity to have a rapid way of building your web application and also creating a maintainable and highly maintainable code for your web application. It was created by Adrian and Simon in the year 2003 and released to the public in 2005. So if you want to talk about the popularities of a Django framework, then you can see here that in March 2021, Django turns out to be the second. But I want you to do this by yourself. Kindly go online and type the best web framework in 2024. You'll be surprised in what you see there. Okay, we'll talk about the use cases of Django. So Django is used by many industries like Instagram, Pinterest, Mozilla, and Daniel. I mean, my own Daniel. I use Django as well. So there are many companies that use Django for building a scalable, maintainable, and highly secured web application. So I'm one of them, and I built my portfolio website, which is udokikedaniel.com.ng with Django. So I created the application. The front end is normal HTML, CSS, JS, and I backend that portfolio with Django. So you can take a look at it, udokikedaniel.com.ng. I'm still populating the website anyways. I'm still populating it. So maybe you can see limited portfolio there about me and something else. But in days to come, it will be fully live. Then, why would you use Django for web development? This is a popular question. There are good guys, the old guys there, the elephants, the what's it called, the Node.js and other ones out there. Laravel for PHP, another one. So why you should learn Django or why you should use Django? Now, this is one of it. A Django, this is basically what a Django highly provides. One is a template system. I'll be going in a clockwise direction. Okay, let me start from rapid development. So I'll be going in a clockwise direction. One is rapid development. So Django, we're just running Django.admin, start project, the name of your project. Django gives you that a rapid development of creating structures, giving you a nice settings for your database connection, for your template connection, and other things that you use. So Django provides that rapid development of your web application. Then the second one is built-in features. Django has a lot of built-in features like, what's it called? It denies or it provides security against SQL injection. Then what's it called? CSRF, cross-site request forgery. Django also provide middlewares that can help to protect cross-site request forgery. And also, Django gives you that opportunity to clearly define any host that will be accessing your server or any host that will be accessing your website by giving you allowed host where you can declare a list of domains or list of hosts that can access your website. Then the next one is scalability. Yeah, Django is very, very easy to scale, and it's also provide an interface whereby you can implement various applications. You know, Django is made up of applications, and application are, let me say, unit of your web application. I mean, unit of your website. They are all applications. And scalability of Django is, it uses that aspect of separation of concerns, whereby a particular folder or a particular function does what it is assigned to do. And when it needs the assignment or when it needs the help of another function, it calls the function in a different folder where that function is located. And in this way, it will be like a system whereby we have different branches, different working, different interrelated and intercooperated components that build their individual effort to achieve a common goal. Then the next one is security. Like I said, Django was built with security in mind, starting from the middlewares, the authentication system, the CSRF protection. You know, cross-site request forgery is basically a way of maybe forging something. For instance, my domain name, udokikedaniel.com.ng, and someone would like to implement another header. You know, those guys that build APIs, maybe you have some header request that will be allowed before the request is being processed. Then someone trying to forge that particular request in a way. So Django was built with security in mind. There are a lot of securities. When we go into the practical aspect of this, you will see a lot of security features that are found in Django. Then the next one is versatility. Yeah. When we talk about versatility of Django, you know, if you're a guy that uses WordPress, just to confirm, can you guys still hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm just timing myself to ensure that I maintain time to also have processes to answer questions. All right. Versatility, yeah. So when we're talking about versatility of Django, if you're a guy that uses WordPress or those CMS to build website, now you believe me that maybe you would want to use anything or maybe you would want to implement something. So you have to install that separately. Now, here comes the versatility of Django. The versatility includes one, Django is built with security in mind. You can use Django in terms of writing pure Python in Django. So if you're a guy that uses Fast API, you can integrate Fast API with Django. If you're a guy that uses Django REST framework for building your APIs, you can integrate Django REST framework in Django. In fact, Django and Django REST framework. Then there are some other utilities you can implement. So it depends on what you want to build. If you are building a lesser application, you can use Flask. You can use Bottle. There are other web framework, but Django is highly recommended for its security and versatility, scalability, and building features. Then again, it's rich ecosystem. Django has a documentation. So when I was learning, I find myself using the Django documentation to learn a lot. And it's like a guide. Yeah, it's like a guide. The rich ecosystem for Django is like a guide. And there is literally nothing else that you can, or maybe a way that you are stranded that you cannot find in the Django ecosystem. It's wide, same as the way Python is wide. So it basically all the frameworks and libraries in Python, they have a great and rich ecosystem. Then the next one is ORM, Object Relational Mapping or Object Relational Mapper. So now this is it. Basically when you are building your application, you have to write your queries that your query data, your database and get a response and provide those response, all those CRUD operation like create, read, update, and delete. Now, in Django, you don't necessarily need to learn SQL queries. You understand? Now, what Django does is this. Django creates, depending on the SQL engine you are using, Django creates a mapping that maps directly to the SQL engine you are using. Something like if you are using a SQLite 3 or you are using PyMySQL or you are using a PG PostgreSQL. Now, this is what happens. If you have something like to query a database like select star from a particular table, you understand? Or maybe you give a condition or something, but select a star from a particular table. To do this in Django, Django has the object name, the model name.object.all. Now, this is equivalent to querying your database. So you don't need to learn the SQL command. You just write a query command in Django, and Django translate that to a particular database engine you are using, be it PyMySQL, SQLite, or PostgreSQL. So that's what object relational mapping is all about. Is in kind of Django relating your database. You're relating your database queries that you have written in Django to a particular database engine, DBMS engine that you are using. Then the another one there is admin interface. Django provides an admin interface where you can literally use, you can as well build your own or customize this, but you can literally use that to populate your database if you don't have the chance of building. If you don't have the chance of, Kentola is seeking for collaboration, and that's a nice way anyways. You can connect on LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn anyways. Kentola, I will reply you. I had your message, so I'll do that after this meeting. After the presentation. So the admin interface in Django provides that utility whereby you can populate your database or you can edit anything that you want to catch from the back end to the front end. So you don't necessarily need to build your own admin interface, but if you wish, it is a nice one. The other one is comprehensive documentation. This goes the same way as a rich ecosystem. The Django framework, it has a comprehensive documentation which can be as a guide whenever you are building applications using Django. Then the last but not the least, is a template system. Something like Node.js, PHP, they use an architecture that is called MVC, Model View Controller. But in Django, Django uses an architecture that is called MVT, Model View Template. Now, the model is a single definition of your data. The view is the business logic behind your application. Then the template is, should I say the statics? The front end is the template. The model is a single definition of your data, and the view is the business logic. All those logic that can maybe authenticate a user, query a user ID, get a user last response or the last time a user logged in. So that's how basically Django works. So Django uses MVT, which is model view template, and other ones, they use an architecture called MVC, which is model view controller. So for MVC, the view is like the template in Django, then the controller is like the view in Django. So let's go on to the next slide, which is setting up Django project. So to set up a Django project, first of all, you need to install Django on your system. To install Django, I advise creating a virtual environment before proceeding to install Django. So to do this, you just need to use the pip, or you can use conda or something else. But I found myself using pip. So installing Django, just pip install Django. Or you can read more about this in the pypy.org, or you can go to the Django documentation and still read about this as well. So, and after installing Django, then you have to create a new Django project. Creating a new Django object, you have to use this command, Django-admin, start project, then the name of your project. Then after which you run the server to test your project and see if it's working. I mean, your application, and see if it's working. So I don't know, this might take longer than expected, but if I can complete this presentation today, I will do it maybe next time. So I want to also show you guys practically how to do this. It's not just making this presentation. I'm a guy that loves practical, and I love showing whatever it is that I can present. Then the next one is Django project structure, the structure of Django project. Now, this is the structure of a Django project. We have the manage.py, the settings.py, the urls.py, then the wsgi.py. So let's start from the manage.py. Excuse me. Let's start from the manage.py. Now, the manage.py is like a command line utility that helps you to run commands like manage.py, run server, manage.py, make migration. If you want to create a database related query of your models into into a specific database management system, you can use that manage.py, make migration. And if you want to commit this migration, you use manage.py, migrate. Excuse me. Then the next one is settings.py. Now, the settings.py contains the configuration of your application. That is basically where the security, the templating, the middlewares, the email configuration, the HTTP configuration, and the static configuration comes in. Then the next one is urls.py. The URLs is basically the routing of your application. You can use the base URL, or you can use application-based URL. Then the next one is WSGI. Now, web developers here or API developers here, they will know much about WSGI, Web Server Gateway Interface. Now, this is a way whereby your application communicates with the server. You don't just build a backend and they start working. There is always a, should I say, a handshake, or there's always a structured way of connecting to a server. So, and the WSGI is a gateway that provides connection between your application and the server. Then the next one we have here is creating a Django application. Now remember, the first thing is to create a Django project, and the Django project comprises of Django application. And to create a Django application, it's just simple to write Python manage.py start app, then the name of your application. Here I'm using my application. Now I want you to take note of this. If you want to utilize any application that you've created in Django, you have to let Django that you have this application somewhere. And that is where it comes in settings.py. Whatever application that you've created and you want to make use of it, it must come in your installed apps to let Django know that you have this app installed. And if you want to utilize maybe the models of that application, or if you want to commit the changes, or maybe convert the models into a specific database query, then you have to let Django that this app is installed in your installed apps. And that installed apps is a list in settings.py. That is what basically settings.py does, is in kind of the main configuration or the base configuration of your Django project and your Django application. Then the next one here is Django URL routing. Like I said earlier before now, the front-end guys, we definitely know much about URL routing. It's basically a in Django, we call it a gateway, or should I say a channel that calls your view. So whenever you visit something like Udokike, I'm using my website as an example. Let me type it in the chat section. I don't want to miss. Please click the link. Okay. This is daniel.com.ng. Now that's my website. When you click on that website, there is always a configuration. That is a URL. I mean, the base URL. That's the base URL that whenever you click on it, someone just exit his video to click on it. That's nice anyway. So that is, when you click on this we actually call a view. And the view is the first, sorry, excuse me, I think I jumped to the next slide. Yeah, this is where I am. So, and the view, what the view does is this. The view calls, I mean, the URL calls the view, and the view executes and give a response. And that's how basically a browser works. The browser works based on when you enter the URL. I mean, when you enter anything on your URL bar and it queries your application, the application gets a response from the server converting it and get back to the client, which is your browser. So the URL mapping in Django, I mean, routing goes this way. When you visit any URL, it calls the view function. Now, it depends on this. If the view has any ability to communicate with the database, example, my website, it communicates with the database whenever you visit the homepage of the website to get my project, to get my portfolio, to get the videos I've posted on YouTube, and also to get my work, my portfolio as well. So that's what it does. You first of all visit the URL, the models of PY to query the database, then it gets a response and then provide it to the front end, which is my template. And it's made of HTML configuration of static files like images, CSS, JavaScript, and other CDNS. So, and that's that for URL routing. Then the next one is a Django view. Like I said before now, a view is a business logic. It kind of handles whatever request or whatever it is based on a condition, if specified, whatever it is that will be shown on the front end or on the templates as well. So that's what the view does. Is basically a business logic behind your application. What it does is it does authentication, it does querying, it does many things, anything at all you can think of that you can do using any web application, maybe submitting a file, all those processing of that file, or telling you that the file is larger than accepted or the file is smaller than accepted or so. So the URL is not opening. Udokike Daniel. Okay, fine. It opens. Just check where if there is a typo, if you type it by yourself or something. It's not part of the presentation anyway, just to show you what I've built using Django. This is just one of it. I've built many applications using Django. So the view is like a business logic. Now, view can be classified into a function-based view or a class-based view. I'm a type that I find myself using a function-based view because I love procedural approach. It depends on what I want to work on anyways. I find myself using a function-based view when it comes to Django. When it comes to maybe building something by myself, I find myself using object-oriented approach. So a view can be classified into a class-based view or a function-based view. So this is the example of a view here, where you have from Django.http import HTTP response. And response, as we all know, can be 404, 200, or 201, all those OK responses. The API guys, we know this as well. So the home is a view that takes in a response, and the only thing it returns is hello world. I wish I have the time to do this, but I promise you I'm going to do this presentation again if time doesn't permit me here. I want to show you guys how all this works. I know some of us here might know it, but I also like to show you how it works. Then the next one is Django template. Django template, like I said, is like the user end, I mean the client end, what the client sees. It contains your HTML files. And HTML files getting maybe configuration and settings, or URL, I mean settings from the static images, JavaScript, and other CDNS. CDNS, yeah. So to have a template, this is home.html. And this home.html is located inside a template. So it's always advisable. You can name your template anything, but it's always advisable to follow a convention because you are not the only one that will be working in the industry. So it's always advisable to name your templates folder as templates and always ensure that you let Django know that this is where to locate your template. So this is how it works, Django template. This is a browser and this is a URL. Now, when this URL executes, it goes to a function. Now, the function can either go to a model, which will lead to a database, or it will go to caching framework. And after which all is done, the way we distribute or the way we show this, because our windows are HTML aware, the way we distribute it or the way we let the user know or show the response to the user is by taking it to the template using a context manager. Then when you take it to the template, then the user, you can display it in any way that you want the user to see it or in any way that the user requested they want to see it. That's how the template works. Then the templates define the HTML structure of your web pages. Django built-in templates engine allow dynamic content generation. This is basically what it was. Dynamic content generation is this. You know, all those template engines like Ginger. Yeah, what I use basically is Ginger or Django template, both almost the same. So something like if you want to run, if you want to check if a user is authenticated, in most applications, you have to do that at the back end and display them at the front end, which is your template. But the built-in template engine allows you to dynamic content generation. Something like you can check if a user is authenticated right there in the front end by using a Django template system, by just saying request.user.is authenticated. And this will return a Boolean value, which will either be true or a false. If it's true, the user is authenticated, it's false, otherwise. Here is the model, which is a single definition of your data. Like I said, a model defines the data structure of application. Django Object Relational Mapping, ORM system, allows you to interact with the database using Python code. Let me go back and explain this more. Like I said earlier before now, the ORM allows you to, I don't know, Victoria, am I out of time? Let me check and keep it. Okay, I still have about 8 minutes or so. So Django models, the ORM gives you that opportunity to convert or translate any Python code into a related database engine. It depends. The query it generates depends on the database that you are using. If you're using SQLite, or if you're using MySQL or PostgreSQL or anything else, it depends on the database engine you are using. So to create a model in Django is quite simple. You have to import from, excuse me, 5 minutes more. Wow. I don't know how I'm this late. I don't know, but I'll try my best. If I can't finish it today, I'll try my best next time. So, what's that? Okay, now you have to subclass from models.model in Django. Then you have a title is model.car field mass length 100. Then you have a content, which is models.text field, and you have a publish date, which is models.datetime field. Now, this is equivalent to how is it done? This is equivalent to create table article. Then inside that you say title, then you say varchar int not no, sorry, varchar 100 not no. Is also equivalent to content. Then we say text. Then what again? Publish date is equivalent to date. Then timestamp. I think so. To make a date auto added in SQL, you have to use timestamp. That is that. If you have title to be varchar and content to be text and publish date to be date, and this is equivalent to this is exactly what it will generate when you want to run the migration into a particular database. So running a migration means to create equivalent SQL query for that. Then making the migration means to commit the migration. Deploying Django applications. Yeah. To deploy Django application is just to take it live. As you can see on my website there, you can visit it. When it was during the development stage, I am the only one that can view it in the local host of my system. But if you deploy your application to a server, then other persons can view it live. So deploying an application means configuring your database statics files. Configuring your Django static files, your database, and taking it to a web server where anyone else can take it. And there is always should I say, there is always a guideline to deploying your application. It's not always advisable to leave your settings. Your settings to be false, or maybe having your debug to be on when you want to deploy or when you want to take your application live. So preparing the steps to prepare your applications for deployment, collecting your statics and setting your debug to false so that no one will get all the contents or the configuration of your settings file whenever they visit the wrong URL or whenever they hit a 500 error. So various options for deployment include Heroku, DigitalOcean, AWS, and Python Anywhere. I think during my intermediate class, I can remember. No, beginner's class. Yeah, we deployed an application on Python Anywhere. And that was a blog application that we built during our beginner's class. So in summary, setting up aDjango, install aDjango, create a new project and all those stuff. Your project structure for URLs, your views and your settings. Then a Django project comprises of many Django applications. So you don't just create Django. Django gives you a way of structuring your project. Structuring your web application into applications. Something like if you want to have a blog app, you have to have an account app. You have to have what's it called? Anything app else that you can use in your application, whereby all of them can communicate together and the URLs can keep routing using the base URL. And you can as well use the template and ORM to structure your Django application, where the templates contains all the user interface that your application will have, comprising from the HTML, the CSS, the statics files, and the CDNS. Then the ORM, object relational mapping, contains a way whereby Django translates your Python code into a related database engine query. Deployment of the application depends on your choice and depends on the security of the application you want to build. You can use Heroku, you can use AWS, you can use many more. And I want to say a very big thank you for staying up with me. I think I'm becoming very fast at the end of the presentation, just trying to make up with time. But if I'll be permitted to do this tomorrow, Victoria, I would love to present again, maybe show the practical way of implementing aDjango. Maybe we'll create one application and see how it runs. So I have just two questions to you guys. I don't know if time permits me to do that. I think we are out of time. How about I do that tomorrow, Victoria? Can you hear me? You are muted if you are speaking.
I can hear you. You're out of time.
Can anyone hear me? Was I speaking to myself?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah,
We can hear you.
hear you.
Guys, I don't know if time